And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 92nd episode of Hex Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin. We got a great show for you tonight. I'm here in Las Vegas. I've been speaking to hundreds of Hexicans one-on-one. It's been really amazing. And so I'm going to share some of that tonight. And I'm going to talk more about smartvault.me, which is your way to time lock on Pulse Chain and Pulse X. So there's going to be lots to talk about. So with that in mind, welcome everybody. Hit the like and subscribe button. And here's the intro.
It's from Maddie ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Big videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being can do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Maddie ALLin's got that covered. Does emotional, feel-good, mind management, emotion stuff like as his gig because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like he helps heal people.
All right, so I am here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. And it's been a really amazing opportunity to network with all the different Hexicans and people who are into Pulse Chain and Pulse X. Of course, I announced just last week that I was going to come out here for the festivities other than the conference, which had not, I guess, been planned as well as the conference that I did. But, still wanted to lend my support to everybody who is here. And it's been really amazing. I've gotten a lot of time to spend with lots of Hexicans that people know of because they all have YouTube channels, as well as people who came and said hi to me for the first time. And the whole time that I've been here, the one thing that I've been focusing on is getting better at helping people to understand what it is that I'm building, because I think that could really be a game changer for a lot of people, including myself. It's a tool I'm going to use. So what am I talking about? Of course, it's smartvault.me. And what SmartVault does is there are three main functions. One is that you can time lock your Pulse Chain and Pulse X tokens. The second is that the amount that you lock drips out based on the amount of time that you've served. And previously, when I presented the game theory 9 days ago on Game Theory Gang and announced it to over 20 people that I invited on the show, got their feedback, I've decided to really, that it's best for people's behavior, for their, sudden wealth syndrome and everything, to just, instead of giving people the option of the added complexity of how often do you want to make a withdraw, the way that the smart contract is going to work is just to simplify it to say you're allowed to take out the amount of time that you've served relative to the total time of the lock that you chose. So let me give you a couple examples. So if somebody if somebody time locked their Pulse Chain or Pulse X tokens for a year, and you served a week of that, well, a week is 2% of a year, roughly. And so you'd be able to withdraw roughly 2% of the coins that you time locked. And then another week goes by and you can withdraw another 2%. Now, you can leave the coins in there as well. You don't have to withdraw them. There's no late penalty associated with time locking. But it really simplifies things. Now, let me give you another example. If somebody's time locking for 10 years and they serve 1 week, well, 1 week is 0.2% of 10 years. And so that's how much you would be able to withdraw. And so by people having different stakes with different amounts of time, it creates these drips that, again, allow you to withstand the 100 or 1000x that could be possible with Pulse Chain and Pulse X. There's really not a better way that I know of to really be able to hold on to mad gains other than time locking. We've seen that with Hex. We've seen that 75% of user controlled coins are time locked, and the average is 6.5 years. What that means is that everybody who couldn't handle a 60% dip, they sold many times, because we've had many 60% dips in Hex. All the people who couldn't handle a 10x because it was too good, they had to cash out. Like, all those people got shaken out as well, for the most part. And the majority of the people left are people who are time locking in one form or another. And so, again, that's where the majority of the APY comes from. We'll talk about other incentives and like why I think that this will be successful and the different feedback that I've gotten. But we're going over the 3 parts right now: time locking, drip. And the third part is that if a hacker steals your vault, you might have a way to steal it back. Now, you might ask me, how does that work? Well, it works because you have pre-selected certain addresses that you control or that somebody that you know controls as your recovery option. You don't give access to the recovery option up front. You can wait until you get hacked. Hopefully you don't. But the hacker is never going to flip a switch to say, give control to this other address that I haven't hacked yet. And you would always choose, to flip the switch if you've been hacked. Now, that might bring up the question, how do you even know if you're hacked? Well, Smart Vault comes in here as well. In order to even get your own coins out, you have to send a withdraw request and wait 7 days. And then the coins become available. The reason why that's so important is because that gives you 7 days to get a notification that says that somebody else is trying to do a withdraw that you didn't know about because they're a hacker and you didn't know about them. Well, that's really convenient because then you can go in and flip the switch. You have plenty of time, all things considered, I would hope. And so that's what makes the system so good to save you from yourself and from other people, is because there's this extra layer of permissions that gets decided up front. And it's not as clunky and terrible as Gnosis Safe, right? It's not doing a 2 out of 3 signature thing where now you're creating an incentive for 2 out of 3 people to betray you or yourself. And so another thing that's really cool about Smart Vault is that we would hope it would be designed in a way that does not allow you to trade. So it's pretty cool that we've discovered a way to allow recovery without allowing trading. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here in the live stream. I mean, I was blown away. The live stream that I did last week, I think about 1,200 people tuned in, and Game Theory Gang has continued to get thousands of views on each episode, even here in a bear market. So shout out to everybody who's at home or who's tuning in live from Vegas. You guys rock. So smartvault.me, it's going to be a really good option for people, I think, to be able to time lock and to have mad gains that you can hold on to if they're created by the market conditions. And it's interesting because the more that people participate in time locking, the more that they will create favorable or potentially favorable market conditions, because it creates more scarcity in the here and now. And that's another part of the pumpamentals that we see with Hex. Now, a lot of people, they've been asking me, why don't I duct tape another token on here, to create more incentives? And I think really at the end of the day, what I would prefer to do is to just educate people, to tell them where the majority of the gains come from, because the majority comes from time locking and price appreciation interacting with each other, not just interest in Hex, right? And at the end of the day, we don't want to recreate Hex, right? That would be traitorous. But in this case, we're doing it just for the time locking, just because that's good for ourselves. That's the main incentive here, is like a 10,000x that you actually held on to versus a 10,000x that you just like let slip away because you couldn't handle 100x. So that's basically the idea here. And I don't see a reason to duct tape on any tokens because I think it creates the wrong incentives, and it makes gas more. It enriches miners. Now I know Impulse Chain, that won't blow up the environment the same way that Ethereum does, but the smart contract that I'm creating is going to live on Ethereum and on Pulse Chain. And for that matter, if you know anybody who wants to time lock any other tokens, they'll be able to use the same protocol. You know, if somebody doesn't like time locking Hex, maybe their favorite coin is SHIB. So if you believe in SHIB so much, why don't you time lock? Why don't you lock it up? You know, why don't you prove that you're going to hold it for so long if you think it's such a good long-term buy? So that's part of the opportunity there to reach a broader market, and I'll be really interested to see how that goes, because I think it could, you know, time locking could always catch on in another community, I would say. Let me see. My headphones are screwing up my perfect hair. Here we go. So yeah, so I think that there's a lot to look forward to there. The other thing that I've changed in the past couple days here, because I got so much feedback, and you know, I should digress right now to just say, join the Telegram, please. I've enabled comments. Just put a comment in there and tell us how this could be better, because now is the time to get the coding right. The coding's being done, so it's time to know the final design of how the game theory and how the all the ideas that can be put into Smart Vault. So, you know, so get in the Telegram. I'm going to type it here just so everybody, it's probably already pinned, but I really want to emphasize, please get in the Telegram, t.me/smartvault. Me. There's already over 500 people who have joined there and are participating in the surveys, in the feedback. You know, any little thing can help, even just to boost that number, to tell me how many people really care about this. You know, who cares about this opportunity to get the game theory right, and then, you know, to be able to get access to mad gains because you have a smart contract helping you, like Hex, except with Pulse Chain and Pulse X. So another part of the game theory that I'm announcing is that we're planning to have a 30-year time limit on locking. And the reason for that is because that's the longest period that a bond would exist. And because even though it's up to each individual whether they fat finger something, we would rather you'd only have to wait 30 years and complain for 30 years instead of us having to listen to you complain for 1,000 years about how you fat fingered something. So, you know, there's no reason, like in Hex, the reason that there's a 15-year limit is because you have to calculate the payout, the amount of interest that you earned compared to everybody else for every day. And that creates lots of gas fees. But for time locking in Smart Vault, it doesn't have to compute all that, right? It doesn't have to figure out what your payout was per day. So it's you know, we could have made it 100 years, we could have made it 1,000 years, but I figured 30 years, that was what Dollar Cost Crypto suggested. And so I liked his reasoning. You know, there's not necessarily anything magical about 30 years other than just that's the longest retail bond you can get. Anyway, so another thing to keep in mind, though, while we're talking about incentives and time locking, is that we do anticipate that you'll be able to still delegate your pulse and earn that really, really small amount of APY that you get from getting paid out from a validator. And so that'll be just for the Pulse Chain token, where even though it's time locked, you could still change your vote every day for a validator, because unlike in Ethereum, in Pulse Chain, you don't have to send your coins somewhere else in order to join a validator. Like, you're voting for a validator without moving the coins out of your wallet, which is great. Not your coins, not your crypto. And that's one way that Pulse Chain is exceedingly better than Ethereum. Anyway, so that's really exciting to be able to have that anticipated function, ability to be able to choose your validator on a daily basis, even if you're time locked for 10 years or 30 years or 1 week, right? And then that it at least doesn't put you at a disadvantage that you're missing out on that APY. Now, if you're trying to do some sort of like single-sided staking, especially with PulseX, and you're asking, there have been people asking this question, like, can I still do single-sided staking with PulseX if I have it time locked? Personally, I don't think you have any business doing single-sided staking, because the question is absurd. Like, if you have coins time locked, you can't provide single-sided liquidity, because that's becoming a liquidity provider, and you open yourself up to impermanent loss. And in doing so, there's no way for you to have time locked coins that are providing that liquidity. So, if you have to ask that question, you really should. You don't understand enough about single-sided liquidity providing, and you're probably going to lose a lot of money. Now, I'm not the person to be advising you on whether to start a liquidity position or not. And I'll even say, I don't know everything there is to know about that. I just know it's not possible if you're time locking your coins. And I also know that you don't know how many coins you get out when you open a one-sided position, really. So anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that that's not saying too much, just to say that you can't do that, and I don't think you would want to, theoretically or actually. You have to choose one or the other. Do you want to provide single-sided liquidity, or do you want to hold on to your coins? You can't choose both. So that's cool. I mean, I guess it is still a pretty advanced question, so I don't want to put people down for just asking it. And the more questions, the better, because there are some questions, like, people were asking, what's the maximum amount of time you can time lock? And I was saying unlimited, and then I changed my mind because people were like, well, maybe that's not the best idea. So, hey, what's going on, Jen Hex? Good to see you. And everybody else who's in the chat, thanks for joining here. What's up, Bugs, BB System, Tea Time, Crypto Gains Club 369, Goldmind, Sweaty Edits, Crypto BD, Jerry, Synthwave. Good to see everybody. Thanks for joining. Yes, yeah, I am fairly certain that single-sided staking is providing liquidity. Now, a lot of these terms are being like changed around in DeFi a lot. So even when you say farming, people give different definitions what that means. So I'd be very careful. I'd practice things on testnet. I would make sure that you understand not only what the terms mean, but also what it means on this system. Because it's my understanding that if you switch between systems, Binance and Pulse Chain and all these other ones, that they've, in some cases, people are getting the terminology reversed. So, yeah, doing single-sided staking is, I believe, very similar to setting a like a limit order, basically. because it fills and then it can like unfill if you don't remove it and that sort of thing. Yeah. Providing liquidity equals having your hex liquid. That's a good way to put it. Thank you. Seems obvious, but if you lock up your hex, it's not liquid. You can't. Okay, yeah. Very well put. Yeah, thank you for jumping in there. So, yeah, so that's not any disadvantage to not be able to do that. Like we said, because it's you pick one or the other, but it is really cool that you can vote for a validator and get yield that way and be time locked. I think that's cool. What else? So those are the only changes. The third change. So the third change is simplifying further the 1% fee. So I already said much of what I already said applies, but we're not making you buy any hex because it would, even if I thought of a super clever way to not have to pay gas fees really in that situation, it creates a taxable event. And even though there's nothing wrong with that, I still want to keep this thing more pure and simple than that. And I think that it will indirectly and directly pump hex, depending on how you look at like just the liquidity that's provided between hex and pulse hex, and pulse chain. I think at the end of the day, if people are locking up pulse chain and pulse X, and it's the same set of users that own the majority of the tokens on either network and either set of coins, I think that it's both directly and indirectly going to pump hex enough. And just the fact that I refuse to like copy hex or to even change any of the designs to create some sort of incentive token, which there will not be. I think that is reasonable to not have to route through hex when you're doing the time locking with Smart Vault as I had originally designed. So that simplifies it a lot. And really what you're doing is you're paying a 1% fee maximum and you pay that to me and my dev, and we're not going to do anything for you, no expectations, that sort of thing. But it's total 1% maximum fee. But if you can wait 5 minutes or however long we choose, but it'll probably be 5 minutes, you can wait, having a timer pulled up even, then you can get down to a 0% fee. So it's free if you can wait 5 minutes. And, I'm getting something out of it either way. I think a lot of people will be impatient and they'll end up paying at least part of a percent, because if you're a minute early, well, you only served to 80%, so you only get 80% off. If you're a minute late, well, now you're 20% off again. And so that's 0.2% that you would pay in a fee, because the maximum fee you can pay is 1% and the minimum is 0%. So it's fun for me. Also, I get to measure that. This is a really good way to measure how impatient people are when they use this tool. And as somebody with a psychology background, I'm very interested in measuring how people change. And we'd see that through their addresses and their staking behavior and that sort of thing on the public blockchain. Unless we make all this like really private, which we might, but that's undecided. So anyway, but at the end of the day, that it's giving people direct access to the experience of waiting and delaying gratification being something that pays you a little bit better. So I think it's really clever. I think it's really fair. And if you don't like it, you can get out, to use one of my previous catchphrases. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's exceedingly fair. I think it's a really good deal for everybody. And so that's why I'm happy to say that it's going to be that simple. That's the only catch, is you have to wait 5 minutes or you have to pay 1% to me. So there you go. There haven't been any other changes with smartvault.me. You can learn more about it by rewinding to the beginning of this episode. which is where I've discussed it most succinctly ever. And I'm getting much better at being able to drill these points home for people because of how many times I've gotten to explain it here to people face to face, practicing, making sure people get that comprehension, but that also we get your input. I love the option to pay 0 or choose a tip. Pretty cool. Exactly. Yep. Time locking. That's the best. So please follow on Twitter, SmartVault me, and Telegram, SmartVault me, no dot. Or if you go to the website, smartvault.me, I think it takes you to the Telegram. Might take you to a survey. Yeah, it takes you to the Telegram. But with that being said, I'm going to keep networking here with Hexicans in Las Vegas. If you're here and you haven't come up to me and said hi, please do. Please come shake my hand. I would love to meet you. If not on this trip, maybe the next one. I'm not sure what the next event's going to be, but I think that no matter what it is, I'll still be interested in meeting up with people to see the excitement and the energy that gets created when the Hexicans get together is a beautiful thing. Jim Rat Crypto has been extra enthusiastic, exactly how Wales Only was the first time he went to a Hex event. Was couldn't shut up about how cool it was. And I think all of us have gotten to see that when we went to some of these events. So with that being said, I'm probably going to sign off here and get out to the next event. But thanks for tuning in. It's been 92 weeks straight that we've all been meeting here on Thursday nights and Tuesday nights. So make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and stay tuned. Let me see. Let me cue up the outro. I'm listening. I catch it. Gotta cue up the thumbnail. Until next time, my friends, stake wisely and peace out.